My coverage of CES 2019 is brought to you by Corsair, Enermax, Deepcool, and Cooler Master. All right, guys, I don't know if you can tell from the coolers behind me, but I am now at Deepcool. So let's start over here with some all-in-one liquid coolers. This is the Deepcool Castle, and I actually showed this to you guys if you watched my Computex coverage back in June 2018. This was well received because it's got a cool look. It's got sort of a taller pump/block right here, but that allows you to get sort of a 3D look looking down in there beneath the GamerStorm logo to see your addressable RGB lights. But the main upgrade here is that this is a 360mm version, so 3x120. These are becoming a lot more popular and more in demand, and I think it's largely because of the existence of the 9900K. But this cooler is rated for 280 watts of heat dissipation, and it's also got support for 16.7 million colors via the addressable RGBs, both on the pump block as well as on the fans that are included. A couple other nice things about this cooler is that it has support for Threadripper, so you pretty much have support for just about any CPU you might want to install it onto. And then this version, since you might have lots of maybe addressable RGB devices to connect up, comes with an addressable RGB splitter. Basically 6 devices can be connected to this. It gets power via SATA, so you can take your ARGB signal and control multiple devices, not just the 4 included with the Castle 360. The Castle 360 RGB has an MSRP of $170, and it will be available later this month. Next is the Captain 240 Pro. This is another one that I already showed you guys back at Computex, but major difference here, you'll note that they are boldly stating that this never leaks. Beyond that bold statement, you've got a 240mm all-in-one liquid cooler, dual fans, addressable RGB, the Captain style pump and block combo unit that Deepcool has rocked with a lot of their different coolers over the years. And I can't tell you guys exactly how this works, but there is a pressure release valve on the side of the radiator here. So when the liquid inside warms up and expands or cools down and contracts, that pressure release valve will expand and contract along with it, allow the pressure to release. That reduces pressure on other joints within the all-in-one loop, and that means you should never have any leaks with this all-in-one liquid cooler. Deepcool promises. Over here we have a demo with the i9-9900K. You may note that it is running at 5 gigahertz with a core voltage of 1.344 right up there, which is it's going to generate some heat. It's being cooled, and the temperatures are getting up into the maybe 70s, maybe high 80s, hitting 90 here and there. But what is actually cooling this device? It's running the IDA64 system stability test, by the way, also, which is going to make your CPU get hotter than most applications will. And this setup is being cooled by an air cooler, the Assassin 3. This is a substantial cooler. It's quite large, but it's actually not quite as large as you might expect because it's only 165 millimeters tall, it's 140 millimeters wide. It uses 165 millimeter fans, and these fans are also custom designed, specially designed to work with this cooler. It's all about airflow and direction to get the maximum amount of cooling out of the fins. It's got a couple, what they're calling spoilers up on the top, and this is just to take any airflow that's going over there, keep it moving across the actual fins to dissipate more heat. The fans themselves are also specially designed to reduce vibration. They've got extra notches around the edges to they're actually unevenly spaced, and that helps reduce vibration overall. They also have specially designed heat pipes in here. I'm not going to explain how they're specially designed, but they're better. They combine 2 heat pipe technologies into one to make a better heat pipe, and also they're using solder reflow technology to actually connect all of the metal components in there, and that also helps improve the heat dissipation. And of course, with a big fat air cooler like this, you might be concerned about RAM clearance. You can actually fit 30mm high RAM in there. So right now they're using Crucial Ballistic Stick, which is a pretty standard memory if you're not putting RGB lights or anything like that on top of it. You can actually have 55mm of height clearance, and that's because they made a little notch cut out right there for you. Finally, you're going to get a GamerStorm badge, which I can't show you, but I can show you this specialized screwdriver that's also included because you might need a screwdriver of a specific length to mount this cooler, so that's not uncommon, but this is a nice quality screwdriver. Now again, if you watch my Computex coverage, you might have seen the Matrexx 55. There's a new version of that over there, and that's been a very popular case because it is a very functional case, and it's not all that expensive. The new one's only 65 bucks, but more on that in just a second. They're upgrading and making a new version with the Matrexx 70, which is right here. MSRP for this one is $70. It's going to be available in April 2019, and bear in mind that the fans you see included on all these cases here are not included with the case. That's part of the way they're keeping the cost down, but that lets you choose your own fans to use. They will ship with a single 120mm non-RGB fan, so you'll have some airflow out of the box. And this case actually has some pretty cool features for a $70 case. For example, the front 3 fans here are mounted to a bracket. You can remove that bracket individually, so that's going to help you either just mount the fans up themselves, especially if you have a bunch of addressable RGB cables to plug in. But then, of course, you can also remove that if you're going to mount a radiator. That's a very convenient solution to have. This case supports 340mm fans in the front, 340mm fans in the top, or if you're going to do radiators, it can do 360 rads in either of those positions. And then if you look in the side here, you might notice that the power supply shroud is kind of unique. It's hard to see from here because the graphics card we're using isn't lit up down there, but this power supply shroud is actually tempered glass. So that'll provide some reflection for the RGB bling that might be on your graphics card, which is kind of nice. But then it also can just be removed, so that'll give you access down to the cable management and also this 2 drive bay cage that's down there. The drive bay cage can be shifted forward or backward. You can actually fit 220mm fans for intakes down at the very bottom, optionally, of course, and that's going to depend on clearance from your cables, from your power supply and everything. But it gives you that option, and then if you do include fans down there for intake, you can remove this tempered glass piece, and that will actually allow the air to go through. We have dust filters included as well. There's one on the back of that front fan bracket. There's one included on the top. These are magnetic, so they can just pull off and put them back on. The power supply is also handled with the dust filter at the back. And then you might have noticed this very unique graphics card sag reducer thing here. That's what I'm calling it. Deepcool calls it the GH01 RGB. It's only 15 bucks. It's going to be available next month. And if you're looking for a GPU sag combating solution that also lights up RGB, well, they've got you covered. So it just has a stand down there at the bottom, adjustable via the thumb screw right there, lines up with your graphics card, and also provides some cover for the cables. So if you're very embarrassed of your power supply, like if you got ketchup and mustard cables going up to your graphics card or something, that'll cover it up and give you some RGB accents. You guys may have seen the Deepcool MF120 fans before. Those are also RGB, and you can control them, but you have to use an app. And Deepcool got some flack for that, so they've come out with this one, the MF120S, which you can sync and plug in directly to your motherboard. So you have a computer, control the lights on it with that. These are already available, so you can buy them now. Next up is mokuba. This is actually the Magic Cube, mokuba for short. This is the mokuba 550, and it's available in a couple different varieties. We have a black finish one over there. We have a white finish one over here. It's going to be $110 for the black version and $120 for the white version. So if you can't tell, Deepcool's going for a much more minimalist look with this case. So you have a very clean front and a very clean top. The side panel also, I think, is unmountable and replaceable in a very good way. It has magnets at the top and a little aluminum bar across there, so you can grab that, pull it out, lift it off. Very good mounting and dismounting method for a side panel, especially tempered glass. And there are some subtle accents when it comes to branding. So you've got a GamerStorm logo at the very bottom there, but it's white on white, so you can only just barely see it. Also GamerStorm on the aluminum crossbar here as well. So overall, a very clean looking case though. And you get tons of support for fan mounts here too, because not only can you mount fans to the front here, and it does actually have a decent amount of gap there to allow air through. They said it's only about a 25% reduction in airflow, but this panel versus having no panel on there at all. But since the top is blocked off by that flat top panel, you actually have some perforations on the other side. I really like how they look. They're kind of little squares or diamonds, however you look at it. But that's going to allow air to flow out that direction. And for that reason, you can have a 420mm radiator mounted right here and a 360mm radiator mounted to the front. I don't believe you can do both of those at the same time, but you should be happy either way. You've also got a 120 or 140 available in the back. Here's a look at the black version of the mokuba 550. I also wanted to point out these are made with 0.8mm SECC steel, so they're very sturdy. Even though these are just all of these, by the way, are just hand-assembled models, so they're not going to have the exact fit and finish that you would get from the factory. That's why a few things here and there haven't been fitting together quite well, but they've also included some pretty flexible drive trays here for 3.5-inch drives. So if you want a ton of 3.5-inch drives in your system, each of these trays will actually support two mounts on the top, and then you can mount one inside there as well. So here you can see where those cages might mount. One is mounted down here, and they actually just mount up to 120mm fan bracket. So obviously it's a bit of a trade-off. If you mount a drive there, you're going to lose the ability to mount a fan and have the airflow, but pick your poison and go one way or the other. Also, they're using all metal for the 2.5-inch drive mounts, and you can see one of those mounted, actually two of those mounted back here, and then you can mount one up on the front on top of the power supply shroud. And finally, here's the ever-popular Matrexx 55, now available in white. And this one is also now going to come with the included 120mm fan, non-RGB, but then this still has the addressable RGB strip going down the front. front. And since this was a very popular case for Deepcool over the past year, they got a lot of demand for having a white version as well. So they have done that. It's available in February and it's going to cost $65. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for my coverage here at the Deepcool Suite at Caesars Palace from Las Vegas, Nevada. Thank you all so much for watching my coverage of CES 2019, and of course a huge thank you to my sponsors for this event. Deepcool, of course, let them know if you're happy that they sponsor me down in the comments section, as well as Cooler Master, Corsair, and Enermax. Thanks again for watching, guys. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out, and we'll see you in the next video.